Hello, I'm Greg Funfgeld, and I'm very happy to welcome you to this, our first Bach at Noon of 2021. We hope for good things this year. We hope for your good health, your well-being. We hope for the vaccine that we're all eager to have. We hope that it's effective, and we hope that good health will be restored across our country and around the world. For this Bach at Noon, we have a wonderful support from two of our guarantors. One who lives in Maryland, Roberta Casemeyer Brown, and the other who lives in New Jersey, Bonnie Gardner. And they have given a gift to the Bach Choir in the amount of $1,000 and will match all of your gifts with that support. So when you have a chance, please continue to support our Bach at Noon concerts. We're so grateful for all that you've done. And know that your gift is doubled by the generosity of these two dear ladies. We have a program today of a Vivaldi bassoon concerto and 4 really beautiful Bach arias. So now you'll meet Chuck Holdeman, our principal bassoonist, and we'll talk a little bit about that concerto. Well, for our first Bach at Noon of the new year, I'm delighted that Chuck Holdeman, our principal bassoonist, has agreed to play a Vivaldi bassoon concerto. We'll talk about the concerto in a couple of moments, but I want to ask Chuck first, tell us a little bit about your time with the Bach Choir and the Bach Festival Orchestra. You're a veteran of many years.
Yes, it's been a long, long time, but I feel very grateful. I'm currently in my 52nd season, and I had the pleasure of playing for Eifert Jones' very last season. Then I was here for Dr. Mann, and then you arrived as a young man, so here we are together again, and it's been great, and it means so much to me.
Wonderful. Well, we feel the same way, Chuck. We're so happy that you've had such a long tenure with us. It's a great joy. Now, Vivaldi was a composer that Bach admired and enjoyed very much. He studied his works, he arranged them, he transcribed them, and did some wonderful things with them. Tell me a little bit about your sense of Bach and Vivaldi.
Yeah, sure. First of all, about Vivaldi, it's probable that Bach didn't know the bassoon concertos by Vivaldi, but in fact he wrote 39, and he, of course, worked at the Ospedale for orphan girls, and so those young women must have just loved the bassoon, and Vivaldi loved to write for them. Now, this experience of revisiting this concerto that we did, I think about 3 years ago, I've been thinking about Bach as I play it, and of course it has great rhythmic vitality. The rhythm is put together a little differently, but there's that tremendous urgency about it that we get from Bach as well. In addition, of course, Vivaldi had Italian lyricism. It's very songful. They're beautiful lines. They're not complicated, but they sing. And of course, Bach became a wonderful lyrical artist. I'm sure he was inspired by Vivaldi and perhaps other Italians in his lyricism. The other thing that is great fun in Vivaldi are the harmonic moments, because Vivaldi. I was thinking about Monteverdi, for example, who wrote beautiful music, but his harmonic palette tended to be the same from different pieces. Now, Vivaldi was full of surprises, and he used harmony to great effect. So I can't help feeling that Bach might have been struck by that, because, for example, one of Bach's other models, Buxtehude, had that fantastical style and so on, but the harmonic expressivity of Bach seems to me to be related to Vivaldi in some way. It's a fun about playing the Vivaldi.
Yeah. Now, of course, the great Bach moment for the bassoon comes in the B minor Mass with the quoniam, the fabulous French horn solo and two bassoons in the background. You've probably played the quoniam more than 100 times.
Yes, yeah, I would say well over 100, because we do it twice every year, and then some years we toured with it. We did it more times than other. I would play for other groups and other conductors. So yes, gosh, what a piece to have your most frequently performed piece, because even as I hear it now, it's very familiar, but I still can't really encompass it. It's just it's vast. It's just every time you hear it, you're stretched to your limits.
Yes.
And so I feel very privileged.
Well, and it's such an unusual sonority to have the French horn, the two bassoons, and then the continuo group, cello and bass and organ. It's really extraordinary. And then, of course, we've had the great privilege of doing Cantata 149, which has a great bassoon solo, and the audience always loves when you get to play that for us. It's a duet for the alto and tenor, but the bassoon is really the star. And I've had a couple of soloists say to me, does anybody remember that I was in that piece? They're all talking about Chuck and the bassoon solo.
Yeah.
So I guess we can only wish that Bach had given us more for the bassoon, but what he left us was certainly extraordinary and a real treasure.
Well, yes. Now, of course, Bach's most infamous bassoonist was Geyersbach.
Right.
And Geyersbach was a young man in Arnstadt who had the misfortune of probably not playing very well. He was a couple of years older than Bach, but Bach was really young, 18, and he insulted Geyersbach in a rehearsal. Later, Geyersbach came after him on the street, and there was a brawl, which went to court 4 times, and that's why we know about it. So that inspired my opera, which I was delighted that we did here with the Bach Festival, so we have the court scenes, and the opera is all about Bach's misfortunes and problems as a young man, which were many. And I was fortunate to work with Bill Bly, tenor in the choir at the time. He wrote the libretto, which is very witty, and that was such a pleasure, and it was really one of my professional highlights, especially as a composer.
Great. Well, Chuck, you've had a wonderful relationship with the Bach Festival as a deeply admired member of our orchestra, and of course as a composer of Young Meister Bach, which was a highlight for all of us. So thanks for that, and thank you now for the Vivaldi concerto we're about to hear.
Thank you, Greg.
Well, again, we're so pleased that you've joined us for this first Bach at Noon of the new year. And before we hear 4 wonderful arias from the cantatas and the Mass in B minor, we'll have a chance to chat with our dear friend Rosa Lamoreaux. Rosa has been part of all things Bach in Bethlehem for decades. It's a relationship that we cherish. And so, Rosa, we're thrilled that you're back. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's still nice to be alive after these decades as well, yes.
Tell us about the first time you came to Bethlehem. Do you remember that?
I do. I came on the bus from New York City with my white dress, which I had made in the kitchen of Anne and Paul Sperry, who I was an au pair for, on their kitchen table. I remember making that white dress and showing up, and the bakers met me at the train station.
Baker.
Bus, what am I saying? Bus. And met me and, took me to their lovely home. And it was just all a magical memory. And I remember, of course, being in their home for the first, 15 years of singing here. Then my family coincidentally moved to near Allentown, my sister and her husband. So I started staying with them the same time the bakers actually moved on to Kirkland. So yes, I remember that time and anticipating and just the magic of singing in that big hall for me. It was maybe my 10th professional job in a big hall with an orchestra, and so it was very exciting. And of course, I remember auditioning for you on the campus of Westminster Choir College.
I believe so.
Remembering that my sister had gone there 18 years before I was born, and was there, in fact, when I was born, and, had chapel in that very room that we sang in. So there are some nice long threads that connect.
Yes, indeed. And apart from Bethlehem, Bach has become very important in your life, personally and professionally.
Yes, very, very early. It was the composer who really just grabbed me with my curiosity, my enthusiasm for making music when I was about 10. I played the cello and I played the piano. We were a musical family. And with my sister and her husband being in another generation in front of me, they were already performing. By the time I was a sort of cognizant musician, or starting off, I'm not sure how cognizant I was of a musician, but certainly of how complicated Bach was. But I just thought it was the coolest thing. And I would turn pages for them occasionally in a service or a concert. And I just thought, wow, this is the most incredible music to keep track of, and feet were going and hands were going. So I just couldn't wait until I got my first Bach aria book when I was about 13, and started singing through it. And the aria Gott versorget was one of the very first arias I would just sing and play, muddle through. Lord knows what my playing was like at that time, but I just was caught by the rhythm. It probably reminded me of the Sinfonia, the opening to the Messiah, which I had known very well by then, because I had played the cello in the orchestra before I sang in the orchestra. So that dotted French rhythm really grabbed me also in that aria, and the major minor flow, all the complication. I mean, Bach is, without a doubt, the hardest music to sing phrase-wise. Yes, it's tonal. We can learn the tune, but as singers, always dealing with where am I going to get that breath is even more of a challenge in Bach than other composers. So there's that extra work that goes into it. But there's never anything more beautiful to perform. I just feel always in the moment of how gorgeous and what a gift it is to just be in the midst of that sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I remember correctly, one of your first professional Bach arias was Et Exultavit from the Magnificat?
It was, yes. When I was a freshman in college, in fact, the full Magnificat was the first time I did a full Bach piece. And every piece in there is just fantastic, isn't it? It's like a little mini B minor mass. And just every jewel, everyone has a jewel. I just was happy to sing anything that Bach wrote, and I would do it, so for better or for worse. But anyway, yeah, that was also I remember standing there singing that, performing that in my church, my childhood church where I grew up.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, Rosa has a wonderful connection with our choir because Rosa is our vocal coach. So a couple of times a year, Rosa comes to Bethlehem and we'll work with the choir in masterclass settings, and then we'll have private lessons with our singers. We have a wonderful fund that supports this endeavor, but Rosa comes, like I said, a few times a year, and she'll spend 3 or 4 days and see as many as 20 or 25 singers for 45-minute private lessons. And that's been an incredible gift to the choir and to our singers. Just say a little bit about what you do there.
Yes, well, it's, one of the challenges of singing choral music, especially when you look at the massive works and again, the massive phrasing of Bach, is my first words are generally, do not sing every note in this cantata, or this oratorio. You need to find out smart breaths. So one of the things I really work on with folks is to make the singing easier by making them not feel amateur in the fact that they need to breathe. Yeah, singers must not apologize for that. And also we work on tone quality, making it easier to sing higher notes on awkward words, vowel prep, all those kinds of things. I give them actually the exercises that I do.
Yeah.
It's not a separate bunch of exercises. It's the stuff that I do in the care and the really care to the detail and the line. So breath, support, how you can carry that line, calm the vibrato down, maybe add a little vibrato, various things that come into the individual coaching.
Yeah, Rosa is a master teacher. I mean, she is really a very gifted teacher, and for our singers to have the opportunity to have one-on-one sessions with her has been an incredible gift to us all. So thank you for that.
My pleasure. I miss doing that this year for obvious reasons, yes.
Yeah, our pandemic. But now, I asked Rosa to pick some arias that she would enjoy singing for us at this January Bach at Noon. And we have 4 arias, 3 from the cantatas, and then the Laudamus Te from the Mass in B minor, which Rosa has sung every year at our festival and is always one of the highlights of our time together. But Rosa, just in a thumbnail sketch, tell us about the other 3 arias.
Yes. So the Gott versorget, I'm not, again, sure what order we're going in the program, is always just suited my voice beautifully. I love the high to the low, the octave leaps, and also just the warm E-flat major key, switching to the minor, and also the sort of regalness of the A section with the jolliness or the sort of, dismissing troubles in the B section and returning to an instrumental da capo. I just think it has a beautiful form.
Yes.
And a warmth and an encompassing, calm aria about God providing for all. And the somewhat sort of quirky aria from Cantata 49, Ich bin herrlich, ich bin schön, which sounds extremely self-serving, but it's not that. I feel beautiful because I'm wearing the cloak of God's righteousness. That's really, again, a beautiful gesture and a beautiful idea of the Lutheran. Bach's German is always very personal, so the text is not very formal in a way, and it's something that people could relate to. I love that piece. It's a trio between the oboe and the cello and the voice. I mean, there's 5 of us, of course, performing it, but there's just that wonderful contrapuntal sort of fugal idea that he inserts in that piece. It's complicated, and what makes it quite fun. It's jolly, it's happy, A major, yeah.
Well, and it's one of those cantatas that's a dialogue cantata, that with the bass solo, who represents the voice of Christ, and the soprano, who represents the soul of the believer, and in this aria talks about being adorned by this wonderful, as you said, the virtues of Christ in his righteousness. I'm resplendent in his righteousness. And of course, talking about going in the end to heaven.
Yes, that joyfulness, yes.
And so then we have a beautiful aria from Cantata 199.
Yes, it's the central aria in Cantata 199. Excuse me, I interrupted your
No, that's
thought.
okay. I was going to say, this is an amazing piece. Rosa and I have done this piece a couple of times together. It was written when Bach was just 29 years old. Extraordinary. And the gospel for the day was the parable of the Pharisee and the publican. And the end of that gospel passage is so wonderful. It says, "The exalted shall be humbled, and the humble shall be exalted." But just tell us a little bit about this aria.
Yes, well, and this aria is in the center of a very interesting cantata for soprano. Altos usually get to sing this sort of storm and darkness and sort of depressed text. It starts with, "My heart is swimming in the blood of guilt. I feel worthless, absolutely worthless. I don't see why I'm on this earth." And we all have these dark days, so it is a very special cantata in that it moves into remembering that there is a way to feel lighter and to take your burdens to God. So this central aria is realizing I'm deeply bowed in my grief and my guilt. Lord, please have mercy on me. And the second section, the B section, I understand well my guilt and have patience with me. So it's one of those things we have to say that to ourselves quite often, just cool it down a little bit. Let's just be a little more patient here. And that's not my strongest virtue. So it is an aria that speaks to me to be mindful of that. But it's also just beautifully, again, warm in E flat major. He descends down, he takes you up, and the string trio that is constantly with you is like a duvet. It's just a settle yourself down, trust it. And it also has a little bit of a lullaby lilt that I can release all those troubles that show up in the first couple of pieces in this cantata and go on to just a sweet little aria that's just an ariosa with viola. It's like just the soul lets go. And then this jolly piece at the end. So not that we're doing that, I'm just saying it's an interesting, it's the aria in the middle that takes us into the joy and the lightness of redemption.
Yeah, when we do the whole cantata, there really is a transition from the guilt and the despair. In the opening recitative, the soprano sings, "I've become a monster in God's eyes." But then at the end, there's this jubilant, like a jig, a dance of release and acceptance and joy. So Bach, in our troubled world, Bach understands all of this. He experienced it himself, and he has a message for us. And so in these arias, I think, and again, I would encourage our audience to print the program, make sure you're reading the text as Rosa sings, and find comfort and hope in these beautiful words and this extraordinary music. Rosa, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm full of gratitude to be able to do this today. Thanks.
Great. Thank you for joining us for this January 2021 Bach at Noon. The music that you've heard and the words that have been sung can be a source of hope for the new year and the promise of good things to come. Take good care of yourselves, be well, stay safe, and we'll see you again next month.